Welcome to our deep dive.
Yeah.
You guys, today we're diving into mermaid legends.
Oh.
And we've got some really interesting sources to go over today.
Yeah.
Articles, of course, and a firsthand account from a fisherman on the Blurry Creatures podcast.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's really creepy.
Really?
Yeah, and even some social media discussions going on about the topic.
Wow. So are mermaids really just myths?
That's the question. Or could there be something more to these stories? I mean, they've been around for centuries.
Yeah, it's interesting because when you think of a mermaid, it's just kind of like a European folklore thing.
Right.
But they appear in cultures all over the globe.
Yeah, that's what really surprised me, too.
Yeah.
I always just kind of thought of them as like, oh, that's that little mermaid thing.
Yeah.
But it's really not. They're all over the place. Each culture kind of has their own like little spin on it.
Uh-huh.
Like the Seask from Scottish folklore. They're half woman, half salmon.
Oh, wow.
And their souls are like bound to a hidden object.
Ooh, that's interesting. Yeah.
It's like a really high stakes game of hide and seek
Yeah, exactly.
with like a magical element.
Yeah.
And then you've got the Ningyo from Japan. They're often associated with good fortune.
Oh, wow.
And then there are these Chinese water nymphs who are said to control the tides.
Really?
Yeah. It's like they've got power over the whole sea.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And then African mermaid folklore, that's really interesting. It's different.
Oh, really? How so?
Well, they focus on like the good and the bad of human nature.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So they're not just like beautiful sirens. They represent like the dark side too.
Ah.
So it's a much more complex kind of understanding of what it means to be human.
That's fascinating.
Yeah. And then South America has their own mermaid myths as well.
Uh-huh.
The Amazon River, for example, it's home to the Ocaruna.
Okay.
And they're known for luring travelers to the depths of the water.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So if you're traveling down the Amazon, keep your eyes peeled.
Right.
And then you've got the Ayara from Brazilian folklore.
Yeah.
And she promises immortality.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But, of course, there's a catch.
Yeah, there's always a catch.
Always a catch. So with all these different variations all over the world, why do you think mermaid myths are so persistent?
That's a great question. I mean, it's something that anthropologists have been kind of arguing about for years.
Right.
I think a lot of people think it has to do with the ocean itself.
Right.
It's this huge, mysterious thing that we don't really understand.
Right. We've only explored, what, like 5% of it or something like that?
Exactly, yeah. And people are afraid of what they don't know.
Right.
And I think there's also that fascination with the boundary between human and the natural world.
Right, that line between what's human and what's animal.
Yeah, we're both terrified and kind of enticed by it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So let's move on to some more recent accounts. We've got this really interesting story from a commercial fisherman named Ryan.
Okay.
He was interviewed on the Blurry Creatures podcast.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that.
And what's really creepy is this guy, he fishes over 200 days a year off the coast of Massachusetts.
Wow.
So he knows these waters really well.
Yeah, I must.
Yet he experienced something that was really unsettling.
Like what?
So he was fishing off of Nantucket.
Okay.
And he describes hearing this really strange, high-pitched singing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he insists it wasn't like any marine animal he'd ever heard before.
So creepy.
Yeah, and it gets even creepier.
How?
The singing seemed to respond to his calls.
No way.
Yeah, and at one point he said it was like it was urging him to jump in.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I'd be heading back to shore if I heard that.
Me too. I'd be out of there.
Right. But he actually claims that he captured video footage.
He did.
Yeah, of these large, fast-moving creatures swimming next to his boat.
Wow.
Yeah, it's grainy footage, of course, but it just adds to the mystery.
So you have this experienced fisherman. He's encountering something he's never seen before in waters that he knows really well. And he's got footage to back it up.
Yeah, but then it gets even weirder.
Weirder?
Yeah, there's a whole government connection.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So right after he posted his videos online, his boat was supposedly randomly selected for a survey by NOAA.
That timing seems a little suspicious.
Very suspicious.
Yeah.
And it doesn't stop there. After his encounters, he claims that he experienced what felt like intimidation tactics.
Oh, no. Like what?
Anonymous warnings.
Oh, wow.
And even a car accident that seemed deliberate.
That's terrifying.
It's like straight out of a movie.
It is. So what does this Ryan guy make of all this?
Well, he has a theory, and it's kind of out there.
Okay, I'm listening.
Okay, so you know how people are a lot more open to the idea of UFOs these days?
Yeah.
Well, he thinks that what he encountered might not be earthly at all.
What?
Yeah. He suggests that what he saw were extraterrestrial mermaids.
Extraterrestrial.
Yeah. And he even suggests that they might have underwater bases. Yeah. I know it's a lot to take in, but he thinks that our understanding of the universe is expanding.
Yeah.
So why not consider the possibility that there are underwater bases right here on Earth?
Right. If there's aliens in space, why not aliens in the ocean?
Exactly. So it's a bold claim, but I'm willing to entertain it.
Right.
But I do have one question. Is there any physical evidence to support this?
Now, this is where it gets interesting.
Okay.
So Ryan also found this really weird tailbone while he was fishing.
A tailbone?
In the same area where he had all these encounters.
Wow.
And he took it to marine biologists at a whaling museum.
Okay.
And they couldn't identify it.
So even the experts are stumped.
Totally stumped. And he wouldn't let the museum keep the bone.
Really?
He was afraid it would just disappear.
Can you blame him?
No, not at all.
After all the weird stuff that happened to him?
Exactly. They're like straight out of the X-Files.
Oh, it is. But, we should play devil's advocate for a second.
Okay.
Couldn't this all just be a case of mistaken identity? Maybe dolphin seals or some kind of rare fish.
Yeah, the ocean's a big place.
Right. There's a lot we don't know about it.
But Ryan's a really experienced fisherman.
Right.
And he insists these creatures were like nothing he'd ever seen before.
Okay.
And he said, I know everything out there, and this wasn't it.
It's like when you hear those stories from hunters who see something strange in the woods.
Right.
And they're like, this wasn't a bear or a deer. This was something else.
Exactly.
But what about the singing? Couldn't that just be some weird acoustic thing?
That's possible.
Right. Like a trick of the currents.
Yeah, the ocean can definitely play tricks on your senses.
Yeah. And we also have to at least consider the possibility of a hoax.
Right. Although I don't know how you would pull that off in the open ocean.
Yeah, that would be pretty elaborate.
Yeah.
But, okay, what about this government cover-up angle?
Right.
Is there actually any evidence that the government's hiding information about mermaids?
Well, we have to be careful here, right?
Right.
We don't want to just jump to conclusions about conspiracies.
Yeah.
But in Ryan's case, there's really no concrete evidence of a cover-up.
Okay, fair enough. But his story, it does raise some interesting questions. I mean, even if we don't buy into the whole extraterrestrial mermaid thing, it does remind us of how much we still don't know about our planet.
For sure, especially the ocean.
Exactly. You know what really struck me about his story was the singing. It was captivating. It made me think, could certain frequencies actually have like a hypnotic effect on humans?
That's a really interesting question.
Right. It made me think of like the classic siren myth.
Right, those beautiful voices luring sailors to their deaths.
Yeah, do you think there's any kind of real-world basis for that?
Oh, I mean, we know sound can have a really powerful impact on us.
Yeah.
Both physically and emotionally.
Right, like certain music can trigger memories or just make you feel a certain way.
Exactly. And what's fascinating is that, ancient civilizations, they really understood sound manipulation. There's actually theories that they use sound to build those incredible structures that we still see today.
Wow.
So maybe they discovered ways to use sound that we're only beginning to understand now.
So we could be rediscovering this ancient knowledge about the power of sound.
Possibly, yeah.
Maybe those myths and legends were based on something real.
It's definitely a possibility.
Like some actual understanding of how sound can influence us. Maybe even control us.
It's a thought-provoking idea, isn't it?
It is. But let's step back for a second and dive deeper into these global mermaid myths.
Okay, sounds good.
What other cool stories did we find?
Well, it's interesting how often mermaid myths blur the lines between the water and the human world.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, this idea of creatures that can exist in both is a theme that pops up again and again.
Like amphibious beings.
Exactly, yeah.
That makes me think of those Selkie legends from Scotland.
Oh, yeah.
They're like shape-shifting seal people.
Oh, right.
They can shed their skins and walk among us as humans.
It's like a metaphor for our own desire to belong in different worlds.
Yeah. To experience both the freedom of nature and like the complexities of human society.
Yeah. And there's often this tragic element to those stories too, right?
Right.
Like a human will steal a Selkie's skin
Yeah.
and trap them in human form.
Yeah.
And then they eventually find their skin and go back to the sea.
And leave their family behind.
Yeah. It's like a reminder that some things are meant to stay wild and free.
Yeah. But this idea of amphibious creatures, isn't limited to just Selkie legends, is it?
No, not at all. In Japanese folklore, the ningyo are often depicted with human-like upper bodies
Right.
and fish tails. But some stories say they can shapeshift.
Oh, really?
Yeah, into fully human forms when they come onto the land.
So the possibility of mermaids walking among us isn't totally out there.
It's a fascinating thought, isn't it?
It is.
Adds a whole other layer to these encounters.
And then there's African mermaid myths. Some of those describe creatures that can exist in both freshwater and on land.
So not just the ocean.
Right, which challenges our typical image of a mermaid, right?
Uh-huh.
So, okay, we've got these compelling myths and legends.
Right.
We've got modern-day accounts like Ryan's.
Yeah.
But has anyone ever found a real mermaid body?
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the answer's not so clear.
Right.
I mean, the ocean's a tough place.
Yeah.
Preserving a body in those conditions would be really difficult.
Right.
But that doesn't mean there haven't been some interesting claims.
You know, you're making me think of that mummified mermaid.
Oh, yeah.
That's in a temple in Japan.
Right.
It's tiny.
Yeah.
Humanoid shape with a fishtail.
Uh-huh.
Have scientists ever looked at that thing?
They have, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did CT scans to try to figure out what it is.
Yeah.
And the results were inconclusive.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So we still don't know if it's a real creature or if it's a really elaborate hoax from like hundreds of years ago.
Wow. So that one's still up for debate?
Yeah.
But what about that mermaid skeleton that was found on a beach in the UK?
Oh, the Crosby Beach one?
Yeah, a few years ago.
Yeah.
The pictures looked pretty convincing.
I know, right?
Like, what was that?
It was this skeletal form that washed ashore, and it looked like it had a fishtail.
Yeah.
But there was no official confirmation
Really?
about what it was.
Yeah.
You know, the ocean kind of gives us these little glimpses,
Right.
but then holds back the full story.
It's teasing us,
Exactly.
daring us to solve the mystery.
Uh-huh.
But speaking of those little glimpses, let's get back to Ryan's story.
Okay.
He found a bone remember
Yes.
while he was fishing.
All right.
And even marine biologists couldn't figure out what it was.
It's a really weird part of his story.
Yeah. So he finds this tailbone,
Right.
unlike anything he'd ever seen before.
Yeah.
Takes it to this whaling museum in New Bedford, hoping they'd be able to identify it. They were completely stumped,
Wow.
and he wouldn't let them keep it.
Probably.
Yeah, he was worried it would disappear.
You know, considering everything that happened to him,
Right.
I don't blame him.
No, not at all. So where does that leave him?
I mean, he's got these strange encounters, this mysterious bone
Right.
that nobody can identify,
Right.
and his whole theory about extraterrestrial mermaids.
So what's he thinking now?
Well, he seems even more convinced that he encountered something truly extraordinary.
Really?
Yeah. He keeps comparing it to UFOs. He's like, if we're open to the idea of aliens,
Right.
why not mermaids?
Right. It's like he's saying, let's expand our thinking a little bit.
Exactly.
But how are other people reacting to his story?
Well, you know how it is online.
Yeah.
It sparked a lot of debate.
Yeah.
Some people totally believe him,
Mm-hmm.
and they connect his experience to other unexplained phenomena,
Right.
like Bigfoot sightings.
Or stories about giants.
Uh-huh.
Other people are way more skeptical.
Right.
They think maybe it was a myth identification
Yeah.
or even a hoax.
So it's kind of become a Rorschach test.
Exactly.
People see what they want to see,
Uh-huh.
reflecting their own beliefs about the unknown.
Yeah. It's tapping into this larger conversation
Right.
about what we really know
Yeah.
and whether we're really open to the possibility of things that we just don't understand.
Okay, but let's play devil's advocate again.
Okay.
Couldn't this whole extraterrestrial thing
Yeah.
just be a way to avoid a more normal explanation?
It's possible.
Right. What if it's something we can explain?
Yeah.
We just haven't figured it out yet.
Yeah, that's always a possibility.
Right.
But what's interesting is that these kinds of stories, they force us to confront the unknown
Mm-hmm.
and to grapple with the possibility that there might be things out there that we just can't explain.
At least not yet.
And, you know, the idea of extraterrestrial life isn't so crazy anymore.
Right.
I mean, scientists are finding more and more evidence that life could exist on other planets.
Uh,
So if there are intelligent beings out there
right.
who are traveling between the stars,
Yeah,
who's to say they haven't already explored our oceans?
that's true. It's a reminder that we might not be alone.
Yeah.
And that our oceans might hold secrets we haven't even begun to understand.
Okay, that's a little creepy.
Yeah.
But let's go back to Ryan's story for a sec.
Okay.
Specifically, the singing he heard.
Yeah.
Remember we talked about the siren myth earlier.
Right.
But he wasn't afraid of the singing.
No, he was drawn to it.
Exactly. What do you make of that?
It's an interesting detail.
Yeah.
Maybe he wasn't out at sea,
Uh-huh.
vulnerable and isolated,
Right?
like those sailors in the legends.
Yeah, maybe. Or maybe there are different types of mermaid songs.
Ooh, that's a good point.
Right.
Like maybe some are meant to lure you in
Right.
and trap you, and others are for something else.
Like communication.
Exactly.
You know, that makes me think of how we tend to project our own fears onto the unknown.
Yeah.
Like maybe we've demonized mermaids in our stories.
Yeah.
Because we're afraid of what they represent.
Right. Like the power of the ocean.
Exactly.
That's an interesting point.
Yeah, what if those old myths are just one side of the story?
Ooh.
What if there's a whole other side to mermaids that we haven't even explored yet?
That's exciting to think about.
Yeah, and it takes us back to that idea of duality again.
Right?
Maybe mermaids aren't simply good or evil.
Uh-huh.
Maybe they're more complex than we can imagine.
I think that's a great point. And if we're open to that possibility,
Yeah,
it opens up a whole world of new questions.
exactly. Like, how do they communicate?
Right.
What are their societies like?
Uh-huh.
What's their relationship with the ocean?
Yeah.
With all the other creatures in it?
Yeah.
You know, it makes me think about all the amazing discoveries we've made about marine life in recent years.
Right.
Whales that sing complex songs.
Mm-hmm.
Dolphins that use echolocation.
Yeah.
Even fish that communicate with electrical signals.
Just incredible.
Yeah. So if we consider that mermaids might be intelligent beings,
Right.
who knows what kind of communication they might have developed?
Maybe their world is more complex than we can even imagine.
Okay, I'm ready to dive even deeper into Ryan's story.
Okay, let's do it.
You said he actually saw those creatures
He did.
swimming next to his boat.
Yeah.
What else did he describe?
Well, he said their tails were about 12 feet long.
12 feet.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Which is much bigger than a lot of the depictions we see in movies and stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
And he described them as swimming super fast.
Really?
Yeah, even keeping up with his boat.
Wow.
Which suggests they're incredibly strong.
Yeah, and agile.
To move through water like that.
Right. Their bodies would have to be adapted.
Yeah, exactly.
To withstand that kind of pressure.
Yeah. So they're elegant.
Uh-huh.
But also really tough.
It's a weird combination.
Did he see them more than once?
Yeah, he mentioned seeing them multiple times.
Oh, wow.
Always in the same general area.
Huh. So there might be a specific spot
Right.
where they like to hang out?
Yeah, maybe a breeding ground.
Maybe.
Or a feeding spot.
Uh-huh.
Or even...
A hidden underwater base?
Exactly.
It's like something straight out of science fiction.
It is. But did he describe what their faces looked like?
He didn't really go into detail about that.
Oh, really?
No, he just said they looked humanoid
Oh, yeah.
and had large eyes.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe he couldn't get a good look.
That's possible.
Or maybe they were just too strange to describe.
Yeah, maybe their appearance is just so different from what we expect.
Okay, now you're really creeping me out.
Sorry.
But let's get back to that whole government connection.
Okay.
Why does Ryan think they're involved?
Well, remember the timing of that NOAA survey?
Yeah.
How his boat was randomly selected right after he posted those videos?
Right.
And then all those creepy things that happened to him afterward?
Yeah, the warnings.
Right, the car accident?
Yeah, it does seem like a lot of coincidences.
Yeah. And he really felt like he was being watched.
Oh, wow.
Like someone was trying to shut him up.
You know, it reminds me of those stories you hear from people who encounter other weird stuff, like UFOs or Bigfoot.
Right.
There's often that same sense of secrecy.
Yeah.
And denial.
Like someone's trying to cover something up.
Yeah, exactly.
And it makes you wonder if there's something out there.
Right.
Why would people try so hard to keep it hidden?
Yeah, what are they so afraid of?
What if the truth is just too much for people to handle?
Yeah, what if it changes everything?
Exactly.
Makes you wonder what other secrets are out there.
Right.
Just hiding in plain sight.
Waiting to be discovered.
Okay, this is getting deep. But let's explore some more of those global mermaid myths.
Okay, sound good.
We talked about the Scottish Seas, the Japanese Ningyo,
Yeah.
the African mermaids.
Right.
What about the Amazon River dwellers?
The Yakaruna.
Yeah, what are they like?
They're a great example of how mermaid myths reflect the environment and beliefs of a specific culture.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So these creatures they're powerful shapeshifters.
Okay.
And they can transform from human-like forms into creatures that look like pink dolphins.
Dolphins?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a new one.
Right.
I haven't heard that one before.
And they live in underwater cities.
No way!
Yeah, they have a whole king that rules over them.
Wow.
And they have a deep understanding of herbal medicines.
Really?
And magical powers.
So we're talking about a whole underwater civilization.
Pretty much.
With their own customs and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But what's their relationship with humans like?
Well, they can be alluring and dangerous. They're known to enchant humans.
Right.
And lure them down into the water.
Yeah.
Some stories even say that humans are captured.
Oh, wow.
Taken to their underwater cities. And they either die down there.
Yeah.
Or they're transformed into Yakaruna themselves.
So it's like a warning.
Yeah.
About venturing too far into the unknown.
Right.
Or being seduced by something that looks beautiful.
Exactly.
But might actually be dangerous. Or maybe it speaks to something deeper within us. You know, that desire to connect with nature. Even if it means losing our humanity.
That's kind of a scary thought.
Yeah, it is. And it makes you wonder about all those other mermaid myths out there.
Right.
The stories that haven't been told.
Yeah.
The secrets still hidden beneath the waves.
For sure. You know, it's interesting. We were talking about those Yakaruna, how they're shapeshifters.
Right.
But they're not the only ones.
Oh, yeah.
There are a lot of mermaid myths where the creatures can kind of move back and forth between water and land.
It's like they can exist in both worlds.
Exactly.
You know, it reminds me of those stories about selkies.
Oh, yeah, from Scottish folklore.
Yeah, they can shed their seal skins and walk around as humans.
It's like a metaphor for wanting to be part of different worlds.
Yeah.
Wanting to be free in nature.
Right, but also being part of society.
Exactly.
And those sulky stories, they usually have kind of a tragic ending.
Oh, what?
Like someone steals the selkie skin.
Yeah, and traps them in human form.
Yeah, and then eventually they find their skin and go back to the sea.
And they have to leave their families behind.
Yeah, it's sad.
It's like those things that are wild. They're meant to stay free.
Yeah.
But selkies aren't the only shapeshifters.
Oh, really?
No, there are other mermaid myths with that same idea.
Like what?
Well, in Japan, they have the Ningyo. They're often depicted as having a human upper body and a fishtail.
Right, the classic mermaid look.
But some stories say that they can shapeshift into a fully human form.
So they could be walking around among us.
It's pretty wild to think about.
It is.
And then there are those African mermaid myths.
Right.
Some of those stories say that the creatures can be in fresh water.
Okay.
And on land.
So not just the ocean.
Exactly.
Which changes our image of a mermaid.
Totally.
Okay, so we've got these myths and legends. We've got modern accounts like Ryan's story.
Yeah.
But has anyone ever found a real mermaid body?
You know, that's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the ocean isn't exactly a great place to preserve a body.
Right. It's a tough environment.
It is.
But there have been some interesting claims.
Oh, yeah. There have been some weird ones.
You're making me think of that mummified mermaid.
Oh, yeah. The one in Japan.
Yeah. It's like this tiny creature.
Yeah.
Humanoid shape. Fishtail.
It's pretty creepy looking.
It is. Have scientists ever examined it?
They have, actually.
They have.
They even did CT scans.
Okay.
Trying to figure out what it is.
What'd they find?
Well, the results were inconclusive.
Really?
Yeah. So we still don't know if it's a real creature.
Yeah.
Or just a really elaborate hoax.
Wow, so that one's still a mystery.
Yeah, it is.
What about that mermaid skeleton that was found on a beach in the UK?
Oh, yeah, a few years back.
Yeah.
The Crosby Beach one.
Yeah, the photos looked pretty real.
They did.
Like, what was that all about?
It was the skeleton washed up on shore. It looked like it had a fishtail.
It did.
But there was never any official confirmation about what it actually was.
The ocean's full of mysteries.
It is. It's like it gives us these little hints.
Right.
But it never gives us the whole story.
Like it's messing with us.
I know, right?
Daring us to figure it out.
Exactly.
But speaking of little hints, let's get back to Ryan's story.
Okay.
Remember he found that bone?
Yes, that weird tailbone.
Yeah, and even marine biologists couldn't identify it.
It's a really weird detail.
It is. So he finds this bone.
Yeah.
Unlike anything he's ever seen.
Right.
He takes it to that whaling museum in New Bedford. Hoping the experts there will know what it is.
And they were stumped.
Totally stumped.
What? Wow.
And get this.
What?
He wouldn't let them keep it.
Really?
He was afraid it would disappear.
Well, after everything that happened to him,
right.
I can't blame him.
No. Not at all.
So now he's got this mysterious bone
Yeah.
no one can identify.
And his theory about extraterrestrial mermaids?
So what does he think now?
Well, he seems more convinced than ever.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That he encountered something truly extraordinary.
Wow.
He keeps going back to the UFO thing.
Right.
He's like, if we can believe in aliens, why not mermaids? It's like he's saying, open your mind to new possibilities.
To expand your thinking.
Exactly. So what do other people think of his story?
Well, online,
Yeah.
it sparked a lot of debate.
Right.
Some people totally believe him.
Yeah.
They connect his experience to other unexplained things.
Right, like Bigfoot.
Exactly. Or stories about giants.
And then you get the skeptics.
Oh, yeah.
Who think maybe he was mistaken.
Right. Or there's all a hoax.
It's like his stories become a Rorschach test.
Totally. People see what they want to see.
It reflects their own beliefs about the unknown.
It does. And it kind of raises the question of what we really know.
Right. And whether we're open to things that we can't explain.
Exactly.
But okay, let's play devil's advocate for a second.
Okay.
Couldn't this whole extraterrestrial thing just be a way to avoid a simpler explanation?
It's possible.
What if it's something totally explainable? But we just haven't figured it out yet.
Yeah, we have to keep an open mind.
Right.
But you know what I find interesting about these kinds of stories? They make us think about the unknown and the possibility that some things just can't be explained.
At least not yet.
Right.
And, the idea of extraterrestrial life isn't so far-fetched anymore.
That's true.
Scientists are finding more and more evidence that life could exist on other planets.
Yeah. So if there are intelligent beings out there traveling through space...
Who's to say they haven't already been here?
That's true.
Exploring our oceans.
It's kind of a mind-blowing thought.
It is. It reminds us that we might not be alone in the universe.
And that our oceans might be hiding secrets that we haven't even begun to imagine.
Okay, that's getting a little spooky.
Yeah.
Let's talk about something a little lighter.
Okay.
Let's get back to Ryan's story.
Okay.
Specifically the singing.
Oh, yeah, that's a creepy detail.
It is. Remember we talked about the siren myth?
The classic story.
Yeah, the beautiful voices luring sailors to their deaths.
But Ryan wasn't afraid of the singing.
No, he was drawn to it.
That's a really interesting point.
What do you think that means?
Well, maybe it's because he wasn't out at sea, all alone, like those sailors.
Right, maybe.
Or maybe there are different kinds of mermaid songs.
Oh, that's interesting.
Like maybe some are meant to lure you in.
Right, and trap you.
Exactly.
And others are for something else.
Yeah, like communication or something.
That makes me think about how we tend to project our own fears onto the unknown.
We do that a lot.
Yeah. Like maybe we've made mermaids into these scary creatures in our stories.
Because deep down, we're afraid of the ocean.
Yeah, the power of nature.
That's a really insightful point.
What if those myths are just one side of the story?
Right.
What if there's a whole other side to mermaids?
That we haven't discovered yet.
That's exciting to think about.
It is.
And it goes back to that idea of duality.
Yeah.
Maybe mermaids aren't good or evil.
Right.
Maybe they're more complex than that.
Maybe they're both.
Exactly.
And if we're open to that possibility,
yeah,
it opens up a whole new set of questions.
Right. Like, how do they communicate?
Yeah.
What are their societies like?
What are their relationships with the ocean?
Yeah, with all the creatures in it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All those amazing discoveries we've made about marine life.
Right.
Like whales that sing, dolphins that use echolocation.
It's incredible.
And fish that communicate using electrical signals.
Yeah.
So who knows what kind of communication methods mermaids might have?
Maybe they have a whole complex world.
A world we don't even understand.
Okay, I'm ready to go deeper into Ryan's story.
Let's do it.
He actually saw the creatures, right?
He did.
Swimming next to his boat.
Yeah, it's crazy.
What else did he say about them?
Well, he said their tails were about 12 feet long.
12 feet?
Yeah.
It's massive.
Which is way bigger than most depictions,
right?
In movies and stuff.
Yeah.
He also said they were swimming super fast, keeping up with his boat.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it suggests that they're incredibly strong.
Yeah, and agile.
Yeah, to move through the water like that.
Their bodies would have to be specially adapted.
Exactly.
To withstand that kind of pressure.
Right. They'd have to be streamlined and powerful.
So they're elegant, but also really tough.
That's a weird combination.
It is. Did he see them more than once?
He did.
I did.
He said he encountered them multiple times.
Wow. Always in the same area.
Yeah, so maybe there's a certain spot where they like to hang out.
Like a breeding ground?
Maybe.
Or a feeding spot. Or even...
a hidden underwater base.
exactly.
It's like something straight out of a movie.
I know, but did he describe their faces?
He didn't really go into detail about that.
Oh, really?
No, he just said they looked humanoid
Okay.
and had large eyes.
I wonder why he didn't say more.
Maybe he couldn't get a good look.
Right.
Or maybe
Right.
their faces were just too strange to describe.
Okay, now you're really creeping me out. But let's get back to that government connection.
Okay.
Why does Ryan think the government is involved?
Well, remember,
Yeah.
his boat was randomly selected for a survey
Right.
right after he posted those videos.
Right.
And then there were those creepy incidents.
The warnings.
Right, and the car accident.
It does seem like too much to be a coincidence.
Yeah, and he felt like he was being watched.
Oh, wow.
Like someone was trying to silence him.
You know, that reminds me of other stories you hear
Uh,
about people who encounter weird stuff
Right,
like
yeah.
UFOs or Bigfoot.
Exactly.
It's like there's a pattern of secrecy,
Yeah.
like someone's trying to hide the truth.
And it makes you wonder
Right.
if there really is something out there.
Yeah.
Why would they go to such lengths to keep it quiet?
What are they afraid of?
What if the truth is just too scary for people to handle?
Yeah. What if it changes everything?
Yeah.
Makes you wonder what other secrets are still out there.
Hidden in plain sight.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is getting intense.
It is.
But let's go back to the mermaid myths for a second.
Okay.
You talked about the sea skirt,
Uh-huh.
the ninyo,
Yeah.
the African mermaids.
Right.
What about those Amazon river dwellers?
The Yakaruna.
Yeah. What are they like?
They're fascinating.
Yeah.
They're a great example of how those myths
Right.
reflect the environment and the beliefs
Right.
of a specific culture.
Oh, yeah.
So these Yakaruna, they're shapeshifters.
Okay.
And they can transform from human-like forms into creatures that look like pink dolphins.
Pink dolphins.
Yeah.
Whoa, that's a new one.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
And they're said to live in underwater cities.
Underwater cities.
Yeah.
What?
With a whole king and everything.
No way.
Yeah, and they have all this knowledge of
Yeah.
herbal medicines and magical powers.
So it's like a whole civilization.
Pretty much.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
But what's their relationship like
Mm-hmm.
with humans?
Well, they can be alluring
Okay.
and dangerous.
Oh.
They're known to enchant humans and lure them down into the water.
Down to their cities.
Yeah. Some stories say that humans get captured,
Oh, wow.
taken to those underwater cities.
And then what happens?
Well, some stories say they die down there.
Oh, no.
Others say they're transformed into Yakaruna themselves.
So it's like a warning
Yeah.
about going too far into the unknown
Right.
or being seduced by something that looks beautiful
Exactly.
but might actually be dangerous.
Yeah, it's like a reminder
Yeah.
that there are consequences
Yeah.
to messing with things you don't understand.
Or maybe it speaks to something deeper.
Uh-huh.
You know, that desire to connect with nature,
Yeah.
even if it means losing yourself.
Yeah, it's a creepy thought.
It is. It makes you wonder
Yeah.
what other mermaid myths are out there.
Right. All those untold stories.
Yeah, all those secrets hidden in the ocean.
Definitely.
So we've explored mermaid myths from all over the world. Yeah.
Yeah. Scotland to the Amazon.
And we've talked about Ryan's creepy encounters.
You're right off the coast of Massachusetts.
But are there other modern day sightings that kind of support this idea?
Oh, yeah. There are actually quite a few.
Really?
Yeah. Like there's this one from South Africa.
Okay.
A group of friends were camping near a river,
Uh-huh.
and they described seeing this pale figure,
Okay.
luminous,
Yeah.
long dark hair,
Yeah.
piercing red eyes.
Ooh.
They were convinced it was a mermaid.
Really?
Or maybe a creature from local folklore.
What's it called?
The caiman.
The caiman. What's that?
It's this mythical creature
Yeah.
known for pulling people underwater.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
So not a friendly mermaid.
Not this one.
Did they say anything else about the encounter?
Yeah, they said it made this sorrowful sound.
Oh, wow.
Almost like a woman crying.
Huh. It's like this mix of beauty and sadness.
Right, like a strange mix of human and something else.
Yeah. Very otherworldly.
Yeah.
Are there other sightings from that area?
Yeah, there's a really interesting one from Seychelles.
Okay.
This guy claimed he saw a mermaid
Hmm.
while swimming in a lagoon,
Okay.
but he emphasized that it wasn't the typical feminine mermaid.
Right.
This one was masculine.
A male mermaid.
Yeah.
Huh. That kind of changes our assumptions a little bit.
It does, right.
Right.
Like maybe there's a whole spectrum.
Right.
Different types of mermaids.
Yeah, just like there are different types of humans.
Exactly. And it reminds us not to be limited by those traditional images.
Right.
You know, those stereotypes.
Okay, so we've got possible mermaids in rivers and lagoons.
Mm-hmm.
What about the open ocean? Any sightings further out at sea?
Yeah, there were a bunch of sightings in Israel.
Really?
Yeah, back in 2009, in this town called Kiryat Yam.
Okay.
Multiple people said they saw a mermaid
Yeah.
near the shore. She was doing tricks.
Tricks? Like what kind of tricks?
Like flipping and diving.
Wow.
Almost like a performer.
Really?
Yeah, it became this huge thing. The town council even offered a reward.
No way.
Yeah, for proof.
Of the mermaid?
Yeah.
Did anyone ever get the reward?
Not that I know of.
Huh. But you have to admit, there's something about these stories
Yeah.
that captures our imagination.
Gently.
Makes us wonder if there's really something magical out there.
Yeah, for sure.
But they also raise some questions, right?
Of course.
Are they real?
Right?
Or are they just fueled by our desire to believe in something?
It's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah, are we seeing what we want to see?
Right. Maybe it's a little bit of both.
Right?
Maybe there's a grain of truth,
Uh-huh.
but our imagination kind of takes over.
Right. Fills in the blanks.
Exactly.
Adds a little drama.
Maybe that's what keeps the mermaid myth alive.
Right.
That line between what's real and what's fantasy.
Yeah. It's definitely a mystery. But let's get back to the idea that some of these encounters might be more than just quick glimpses.
Okay.
Remember that story from Zimbabwe?
Yeah.
About the construction workers
Uh-huh.
who abandoned a whole project because of mermaids?
That one's wild.
It is. So these guys were building dams,
Right.
and they claimed that mermaids were messing with their equipment.
Yeah, causing all these malfunctions.
Really? What do they call them?
Mama Muntu.
Mama Muntu. Okay. And they were so freaked out, they refused to work.
Yeah, they were terrified.
Wait, so you're saying they just walked off the job
That's what happened.
because of mermaids?
Because of mermaids.
Wow. And get this.
What?
When the local workers refused to go back, they brought in white workers to finish the project.
Yeah.
Are you saying there was this belief
Yeah.
that white workers were somehow immune to mermaids?
It's a disturbing thought.
It is. And it kind of highlights the cultural biases
Right.
that can shape how we see these things.
Yeah. Are we imposing our own fears?
Right.
Our own prejudices?
Onto these experiences.
It's a tough question.
It is. But let's lighten things up a bit. I'm curious about those North American mermaid tales.
Oh, yeah.
What kind of stories do they tell over there?
Well, it's interesting
Yeah.
because it's this blend of Native American legends and European influences.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like the Micmac people of Eastern Canada,
Okay.
they have stories about the weir.
The weir.
Yeah.
What's that?
It's a shape-shifting mermaid,
Okay.
but it has good and bad aspects.
There's that duality again.
Right.
Not just good or evil.
Exactly.
Kind of a mix.
So the weir can grant wishes.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, if you treat her with respect,
Okay.
but if you disrespect her,
Oh.
she can bring you bad luck.
So it's a message about respecting nature,
Yeah,
recognizing that it can be both good and bad.
exactly.
But you said the weir has a dark side.
She does.
And kind of out.
She's often depicted with really long hair,
Okay.
and she uses it to trap people.
Oh, no.
Yeah, entangles them and drowns them.
That's creepy. But it's also kind of a reminder, isn't it?
Yeah.
That even beautiful things can be dangerous.
For sure.
There's often a dark side.
Always two sides to the coin.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, it's like these mermaid myths.
Uh-huh.
They're not just stories.
Right.
They're reflections of us.
Yeah.
Our fears, our desires, our relationship with nature.
And all those mysteries.
Right. The things we don't understand.
That's a great way to put it.
But let's not dwell on the scary stuff.
Okay.
What up that Cherokee mermaid?
Oh, yeah, the one with the silver hair.
Yeah. What's her story?
She's a little more whimsical.
Okay.
Lives in a deep pool in the mountains.
Uh-huh.
And if you find a strand of her hair,
Yeah.
you'll have good luck.
Oh, that's nice. A change from the scary ones.
Right.
Like, not all mermaids are out to get us.
Exactly. Maybe some of them are just swimming around,
Right.
doing their own thing.
Yeah.
Maybe even bringing a little good fortune.
Yeah. I like that. So we've covered North America.
Uh-huh.
What about Australia? What kind of mermaid tales do they have down under?
Well, their lore is super interesting.
Yeah.
It mixes those Aboriginal Dreamtime stories with modern encounters.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like the Yungu people of Arnhem Land.
Okay.
They have stories about the Yakyo.
The yak yak.
Yeah.
What is that?
It's like a mermaid.
Okay.
Lives in freshwater streams.
Okay.
And billabongs.
Okay. What's it like?
Human upper body fishtail.
Mm-hmm.
But the coolest part is its hair.
Yeah.
Super long.
Uh-huh.
Decorated with shells and seaweed.
Wow, that sounds pretty cool. Is it a good mermaid or a bad mermaid?
Well, it's both.
Ooh, come on. Not that a
I
good.
know, right? Like protector and trickster.
Okay.
Helps those who respect it, punishes those who don't.
It's like nature itself.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It can be nurturing, but also dangerous.
Right. Are there any modern sightings of mermaids in Australia?
There are a few.
Yeah.
Like a scuba diver exploring the Great Barrier Reef
Okay.
describes seeing a mermaid swimming with dolphins.
Ah, that's nice.
Right?
Yeah.
Said it was so graceful,
Yeah.
unlike anything they'd ever seen.
It's like a scene from a dream.
It is.
But what about those surfers in New South Wales?
Oh, yeah.
They saw a mermaid combing her hair on a rock riding.
They did.
What did she look like?
They said she had golden hair, piercing green eyes,
Oh,
and a tail that shimmered.
wow. That's a pretty vivid description.
It is. Makes you wonder if they're watching us.
Yeah.
Just like we're watching them.
Okay, that's a little creepy. But let's talk about what all these myths really mean.
Okay.
What do they tell us about us?
Well, I think they tap into our fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
Especially the ocean.
Right. It's this vast, mysterious place.
Exactly.
We don't really control it.
And our rules don't apply down there.
Right. But within that fear, there's also this sense of wonder.
Oh, definitely.
Like we recognize the power of nature.
It's both beautiful and terrifying.
Right. It's like they say, we fear what we don't understand.
Yeah, but I think there's also a fascination, huh?
Like we want to connect with something bigger than ourselves.
That makes sense.
And the mermaid kind of embodies that.
Yeah.
You have this mix of human and animal.
Right.
The familiar and the strange.
It's that mystery that makes the myths so powerful.
Exactly.
Right, we're drawn to their beauty,
Uh-huh.
but also kind of scared of their wildness.
Yeah. And we can't forget about the siren aspect.
Right.
The seduction.
Yeah.
Luring men to their deaths.
It speaks to our desires.
Right.
Our fears.
Maybe even our fear of being consumed by those desires.
Yeah, it's a complex relationship.
It is for sure.
But okay, let's talk about those marine biologists in Antarctica.
Oh, yeah.
That story really pushes the boundaries.
It does.
So these scientists were doing research using sonar to map the ocean floor.
Yeah.
And they picked up these weird sounds.
They did.
High-pitched. Almost musical.
Yeah, but not like any whale or dolphin sounds.
Right. It sounds like what Ryan described. It does, doesn't it? And what's really weird is that the sounds seem to be coming from a group of things moving in formation.
So like intelligent movement.
It seems that way.
Hold on. Are you saying they might have found a group of mermaids?
It's a possibility they couldn't ignore.
Wow. So if mermaids can live in Antarctica,
right,
where else could they be?
Exactly. What are they like?
How do they survive in those conditions?
Right. It challenges our whole idea of what a mermaid is.
Yeah. Maybe they're way more adaptable than we think.
And it reminds us that we don't know everything about life on Earth.
Especially in the ocean.
Yeah, maybe we're sharing this planet with creatures that we don't even know exist.
Well, after all this, I gotta say, I'm fascinated. But also a little freaked out.
Yeah.
Myths, legends, modern sightings.
It's a lot to take in.
It is.
Yeah.
And the possibility that mermaids might be real.
Right.
It's pretty mind-blowing.
It is. And I think it reminds us to be curious. Yeah. Keep an open mind. And realize that the world is full of mysteries.
Absolutely. So after all this, do you believe in mermaids?
I think the question is, are we willing to believe in the possibility of the unknown?
Yeah.
Are we open to things that we don't understand?
It's a question we all have to answer for ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great place to leave our listeners.
Yeah.
So what do you think? Do mermaids exist?
Right.
What other mysteries are out there?
We'd love to hear your thoughts.
And if you're feeling brave, check out Ryan's videos and that Blurry Creatures episode.
You can find links in the show notes.
Until next time, keep exploring.
Yeah.
And remember, sometimes the best stories are the ones we haven't heard yet.